So, dear students, this is the question from JEE Advanced 2024, and today is 26th of June. So, let us read this question. This statement is: let function f, its domain is closed interval 0 to pi by 2, and its range is given as 0 to 1, both included. Be the function defined by fx is equal to sine square x, and g is given a function whose domain is 0 and 2 pi by 2, both the terms are included, and the range is 0 to infinity, where 0 is included and infinity is open, and the function is given as gx is equal to square root under this expression. So what it is asking us to evaluate is this particular term. Now one thing you should be noticing here is that the domain of this function is same as the domain of this function g. Okay, so now let us proceed to solve this question. The first term that we are asked to evaluate is 0 to pi by 2 fx into gx and dx. Now one property that should immediately strike any student here is, if it is given that 0 to a f of x dx, then we can write it like this: 0 to a f of a minus x dx. And many a times question has been asked from this particular property in JEE. Nearly every time one or two questions are asked based on this particular property. So how we are going to use it is, in this particular expression, let us first evaluate this one. So if I write it like this: 0 pi by 2 and f of x, that means f of pi by 2 minus x, and g of pi by 2 minus x dx. So now I can write it like this: twice of 0 to pi by 2 f of pi by 2 minus x, that is sine square pi by 2 minus x, and this term is 0 g pi by 2 minus x dx. Now this particular term is nothing but it is sine square twice of 0 to pi by 2, and this can be written as cos square x and g of pi by 2 minus x. So in place of g I can write like this: pi by 2, and there is a term containing x, so in place of x I will be writing pi by 2 minus x, and then there is x square, so pi by 2 minus x square. Okay, now if I go to evaluate this expression, then it will be 0 pi by 2 cos square x, and here under the square root it will be pi square of 4 minus pi by 2 of x, and minus of pi square by 4 minus x square, and minus 2 pi x it will come, then it will be plus pi of x. Okay, here it is dx. So if I simplify it a bit more, then what I will get is twice of 0 to pi by 2 cos square x square root under pi square by 4 will get cancelled, these two terms, and here it will be minus pi by 2x plus pi x. That means there will be pi by 2 x and minus x square dx. Okay, this term remains. Now this term is nothing but it is again gx. Okay, you can see it is again gx. So what I can do from here is I can write it like this: It is nothing but it is twice of 0 to pi by 2, 0 to pi by 2 cos square x into g of x dx. Okay, so this function is written like this. Now what I had started with was what I had started with was 2, what I has taken I to be, it is given that it is 2 sine square x and gx. Okay, this term was initially 2 sine square x gx. So what I can write from here, I is equal to twice of 0 to pi by 2 sine square x g of x dx. Okay, this is the first integral, and again I can write it like this, I is equal to, let us better write it as I1 because it is not the whole integral. So 0 to pi by 2 cos square x g of x dx. Now what happens if I add both of them? If I add both of them, then I can write it like this, twice of I1 is equal to twice of 0 to pi by 2 g of x dx. Okay, why g of x? Because sin square x plus cos square x will be 1. So from here I can write twice of I1 is equal to 2 times of 0 to pi by 2 g of x dx. Now it was asking this particular term's value and minus 0 to pi by 2 g of x dx. Okay, so I got the value of this particular expression. Now from it I have to subtract this term 0 to pi by 2 g of x dx. So what I need to do, twice of 0 to pi by 2 g of x dx minus 0 to pi by 2 g of x dx. Okay, now just going back to the question, it was twice of I1, twice of this particular integral, and this particular integral gave us this particular value. So twice of this function, the value is this, and now when I two times of this, and now when I add it, I get 2 times of 2 is common here, also, sin square x plus cos square x will be 1, and gx is common, so it will be g of x dx. So what I got here from here is I1 is equal to g twice of 0 to pi by 2 g of x dx. I1 is equal to, okay, but what I was being asked in the question, let me see. In the question I was asked this particular value, so it was our I1. Okay, that means here there will be no 2. Okay, because I have to simply put the value of I1, because if you will calculate the value of I1, it will 2 will get cancelled from both the sides, and therefore this will result in the value of 0. Okay, so repeatedly the questions have been asked upon from this particular property in JEE. Now the second part in this question, the second part that was given in this question was to evaluate 16 upon pi cube 0 to pi by 2 f of x g of x dx. Okay, we need to evaluate this particular integral. Now come back to the previous question. So this was our question, and I can write from here I can write that mm, this particular term was 0. Okay, this particular term was 0, so I can write that twice of 0 to pi by 2 f of x g of x dx is equal to 0 to pi by 2 g of x dx. Okay, so using this in place of fx gx I can write 16 by pi cube into 1 by 2, this 2 will come here, and 0 to pi by 2 g of x dx. Okay, that means this integral is same as evaluating this integral. Okay, this is same as. So from here what I can say that I will not be carrying this particular term everywhere. I will be evaluating this, and after that I will be multiplying it with a constant. So if this is I1, this is I1, let's say, or I2, then how I am going to evaluate I2? So my I2 will be 0 to pi by 2 root under pi x by 2 minus x square dx. Okay, now for evaluating such integrals we often have a ready-made thing that should come to our mind is to make it into a form of squares. Okay, so I can write it like this: 0 to pi by 2, or better, currently we get rid of this limits, simply trying to evaluate this particular indefinite integration. So, and after that I will be loading the limits. So this will be something like this: pi by 4 whole square, and minus, since I am adding pi square by 16 I need to subtract this also, so minus pi square by 16. And for 2ab term I will be writing pi x by 2, because 2 will get multiplied with the 4, and then I will be writing plus x square because I had already taken minus sign outside. Okay, so from this expression it is equivalent to writing root under pi by 4 whole square minus x minus pi by 4 whole square dx. Okay, yeah, I have written like this. Now see, our integral was of the form pi by 4 whole square minus, and there was a root also, minus x minus pi by 4 whole square dx. Okay, had I taken root in the previous page? Yeah, there was square root also. Now what to do is let the value pi by 4 be alpha. Okay, let it be alpha, or let it be like this only. Substitute this as y. Let y is equal to x minus pi by 4. Okay, and let us say this is alpha. So what will be its form? Its form will be alpha square minus y square, and if you will take dy from here, so dx will be equal to minus, dx will be equal to dy. Okay, if you calculate dy it will be equal to dx. So you can write it like this, and once you get this particular term, you know the integral of this particular term well. Okay, this is a standard form. So from here I can write it y root under alpha square minus y square plus alpha square sine inverse of y upon alpha. Okay, so now I got this particular integral, and what I need to do is to evaluate this particular integral. So by putting the values, so the what the limits was, if I directly come to evaluating this definite integral, so let us directly load the value. We can't do it like this, but because we are doing it casually, not on an examination paper, so how I will be evaluating this? I will be evaluating this by putting the limits. Now see, these function are odd functions. Okay, so I can write it like this, 1 by 2 into 2, because you know that in an odd function it will become 0 to pi by 4 and 2 will get multiplied. So I can write it like this, y root under alpha square minus y square plus alpha square sine inverse y upon alpha, and the limit will be 0 to pi by 4. Okay, so once the limit is from 0 to pi by 4, and if I substitute the values, then what I will be getting is 2 and 2 will get cancelled. So the first term will be pi by 4, and square root of pi square by 16 minus y is also the same, pi square by 16, and plus pi square by 16 into sine inverse y by alpha, that is 1. This is the first term, and minus what it will be, this will be 0, and here alpha is this is 0, so this will be 0. Okay, so this will give you, this term will also be 0, so this will give you pi square upon 16 into sine inverse 1, and sine inverse 1 will be pi by 2, so this will be pi cube by 32. Now see, what was the factor that we need to multiply? The factor was 16 by pi cube into 1 by 2. Okay, so I will be multiplying this result by the same term 16. So I is equal to I, that means the question that was asked, 16 by pi cube into 1 by 2 into pi cube by 32. Okay, so this will be pi cube cancelled, 16 gets cancelled, and this will be 1 by 4. So this was not a very difficult question from JEE 24 paper, but yes, you must be able to remember and recall all these properties in the examination time. So I hope that you would have liked the video. Thanks a lot for watching the video.